Hello, everyone. My name is Kayla Laudeker. I am a junior food science major at Alabama A&M University. Today, I will be discussing an important question in food safety. Are canned fish products regulated as strictly as meat and poultry? We'll look at regulatory agencies, safety laws, processing requirements, and then compare the strictness of oversight between the two. An overview today of what we'll cover. First, we'll do who regulates these foods. Second, the major safety rules for meat, poultry, and canned fish. Third, the key differences in strictness, and then we'll end it on a conclusion. So, why is food safety regulation here and why does it matter? Food safety regulations protect consumers from illnesses to help ensure that products entering the marketplace are safe. Different types of food carry different risks. Meat and poultry are highly perishable and carry pathogens such as E. coli or Salmonella. Their regulations focus heavily on thermal processing and container integrity. Regulatory agencies. Meat and poultry are regulated by the USDA, Food Safety and Inspection Service, also known as FSIS. Seafood, including canned fish, is regulated by the FDA. Unlike the USDA, the FDA also enforces a special set of laws for canned foods called the Low Acid Canned Food Rule. These differences in agencies lead to differences in how strict the regulations feel. USDA regulations for meat and poultry. USDA oversight is extremely on hands, so one major difference is that the USDA requires a continuous inspection in slaughterhouses. This means inspectors are physically present every day during slaughtering and processing operations. The USDA also enforces HACCP, sanitation standards, carcass inspections, and a zero tolerance for contamination. Just because meat and poultry spoil quickly and can carry dangerous pathogens, the regulations are very strict and very direct. So, why is the USDA so strict? The USDA strict oversight exists because of high risk of bacterial contamination. Raw meat can harbor E. coli, Salmonella, Listeria. Even small handling mistakes can lead to outbreaks. So the USDA method focuses on constant monitoring and direct inspection of carcasses and equipment. FDA regulations for seafood. Seafood, including canned fish, falls under FDA authority. FDA requires seafood HACCP, which means processors must identify their hazards and set up controls. Seafood HACCP focuses on issues like histamine formation, parasites, and environmental contaminants. Canned fish and the LACF rule. Canned fish products must follow the low acid canned food rule, which is one of the strictest regulations in food processing. This rule exists because of the dangers of bulimia, which can occur if cans aren't processed correctly. Under this rule, processors must 1. Scientifically validate their thermal processes, 2. Maintain strict temperatures and pressure logs, 3. File scheduled processing documents with the F and the last test can seem test can seams and container integrity. These requirements are extremely technical and highly regulated. How FDA enforces compliance. While the FDA does not have a daily inspector on site like USDA, they enforce compliance through required documentation, processing logs, and periodic inspections. Companies must keep several years of processing records. Failure to comply can result in major recalls or even shutdowns. So there are really no continuous inspection. The legal responsibility and process control requirements are extremely strict. To prepare for this project, I reviewed multiple credible and varied sources, including FDA and USDA regulatory documents, the Seafood HACCP guidance, the USDA FSIS inspection handbook, scientific literature on thermal processing, and a peer-reviewed research on foodborne pathogens in both meat and seafood. By going through these sources, I have to compare two very different regulatory systems that address two completely different types of food safety hazards. This required complex problem solving because I needed to understand not just what the rules are, but why they exist. Meat and poultry regulations focus on preventing bacterial contamination during slaughter and processing, which explains why USDA inspectors are physically present every day. Canned fish regulations, on the other hand, focus on preventing things like botulism, which is extremely dangerous but controlled through precise thermal processing. Understanding these differences helped me figure out how each system works and why the strictness looks different depending on the product. By combining the information from all of these sources, I was able to form a new insight. Canned fish is not inspected as continuously as meat and poultry, but the technical processing laws for canned fish are just as strict, sometimes stricter, but even a small error could lead to a life-threatening hazard. Meanwhile, food and poultry relies less on complex processing, technology, and a more constant hands-on inspection. Seeing how each system targets its specific risks helped me understand strictness depends on the kind of danger the food carries. So, what is the direct comparison? How do these systems compare? Meat and poultry have a stricter inspection Meat and poultry have a stricter inspection frequency because the USDA is in the facility every day. Canned fish has a stricter processing law. Canned fish has stricter processing laws because even in the smallest error in thermal processing, it can lead to bulimiasm. So both systems are strict, but they enforce different safety laws in different ways based on the risk of the products. So, which is actually stricter? Which is actually stricter? The answer depends on what type of strictness you mean. If we're talking about hands on inspection, meat and poultry regulated are more strictly. If you're talking about hands on inspection, meat and poultry are regulated more strictly. If you're talking about technical processing laws and documentation, that'll be feed that'll be canned fish. Highly regulated, but even sometimes If you're talking about technical processing laws and documentation, it'll be canned fish, which is highly regulated. So the strictness isn't higher or lower, they're just both different. So, to sum this up, in conclusion, canned fish products are regulated very strictly, but not really in the same way as meat and poultry. Meat and poultry lies heavily on the USDA's continuous inspections. Canned fish really relies on strict processing laws, thermal validation, and the FDA oversight. Both systems are designed to address the unique risk of associated each type of food. Thank you for listening.